Zach, what do you think Bigfoot does on a weekend when he feels a little lonely, okay? We don't know. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Romancing the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
Hi, I'm Seff.
And this week we read Untouchable by Kresley Cole. Murdoch's book like 7 in the series. We're making our way through the whole thing. Slowly but surely.
I was counting last night before I went to bed, and I think we only have about, if we're counting the novellas, we have about 9 left.
We're almost halfway done.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations to us.
I thought we had a little less than 9, actually.
Well, I mean, I also counted, is it Crispian? Oh, shit, I don't know.
The
Caspian?
Yeah, like the side series?
The MM book. I counted that as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Gotcha.
Seff, tell us what this book is about.
Well, so we get the last Roth brother book.
No!
And that is Murdoch.
Why are they not like
for
10?
March? That's like, no more vampires! But don't worry, we still have vampires. So this book was really interesting in terms of like the time it took place. So it's supposed to be a novella, but we all felt that it was a full-length book.
But it's not a novella though. It's full length.
Yeah, I know.
So
but it was supposed to be like...
We were under the impression that it was, but it's not.
Oh, okay, so it's not supposed to be a novella?
It's not. I don't know.
Oh.
No,
But-
because
okay.
it's book 7. It's not book 6.5 or whatever. It's book 7 in the series.
But I
Okay.
did see online that it is considered a novella.
What? Well, I mean, 200 plus pages to me in my book is not a novella.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's a long ass book. All right. I mean, I know it's not technically long, but it feels long. This one felt long.
Yeah, this one I felt its length.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, let me give you the synopsis. Okay, so basically, this book starts off during the events of The Warlord Wants Forever, which is Nikolai's book, Nikolai and Misk. So this starts off when Nikolai comes to New Orleans, and we all know what happens there. You know, with the
5 years of
spunk and the
raging
grass.
hard boner is what happens.
Yeah. So Murdoch is just there to, help his brother because we know he's a raging mess. And then he sees Daniela as she's being attacked by these ice fae, and he literally saves her life, but in the process, really, he got attacked as well. But we find out that Dani is being attacked by these ice fae because she's a half-breed of sorts, and she's supposed to be the rightful queen of the Ice Kingdom. But the king right now, who had killed her mother, who was the queen, wants to destroy the last heir, which is obviously Dani. So all these assassins always come to try and find her and kill her. But in this case, she got saved by Murdoch, who he finds out Dani is his bride. But what is the curious thing there, guys? What can't they do?
They can't touch each other. Hint, the title.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, a title that makes sense in this series. Untouchable.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Short, sweet, to the point, makes sense. We love it. We love to see it.
Okay. So, as we just said, Dani can't be touched at all, like physical touch, because her skin is so cold. Any human touch, not human, but any touch basically is too hot for her skin. But anyway, she gets attacked and she gets shot with all these poisonous arrows, and our boy Murdoch was like, oh my gosh, I need to save my bride. So he obviously takes her to his secret, I don't know, apartment or whatever. And she decides to break his seal because she sees that he's in so much pain. And this girl decides, you know what, let me give my hand 3rd-degree burn and like give him a hand job, and that's literally what she did.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
That was pretty. Like I was like, girl.
And
if I saw him suffering,
excuse me, did he not put an ice cube in her?
okay, it wasn't an ice cube. It
was an
ice
icicle.
dildo.
Icicle, yeah.
Jeez. I was both like horrified and like intrigued.
I was intrigued. I was like, how did they find like the perfect
But it's an icicle. Ouch.
icicle?
That shit ain't made for the body.
It, Marge.
What?
The way they described it made it seem like it was an ice dildo.
I mean, all right.
I mean, if that's
what it takes for you to sleep at night, fine. But in my head, it was a sharp AF icicle, and I was
maybe
a little horrified.
The other end, the other end where it wasn't as sharp. I don't know why I'm going like this.
Have you ever seen an icicle, Seff?
Yeah, when you break it off, sharp. The other end isn't sharp.
It would be
sharp.
Like,
it's sharp too. It's just not pointy, but it's sharp.
Probably gnawed on it a bit and then stuck it in.
Icicles actually kill people every year. I just have to say, especially here in Canada, people die by icicle.
But not the other end.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, all right? It's ice. And she's cold, so it's not gonna melt. So...
In my head, because she called it a phallus-shaped icicle, I'm literally picturing an ice dildo. End of story.
I just want to know, where the heck did he find that?
They didn't even mention it.
He just happens to find a dick-shaped icicle.
He just broke it off of something, no? Like a plant or something, right? I think because I remember something. He broke it off of something.
We should keep track of like the weird things
sex
used
situations?
in the series, or like the weird sex toys. Because there was the lipstick, which is not technically weird, but it was like weirdly hidden. And then you have the icicle. So I'm just curious to see if there's anything else going forward,
or like interesting sexual situations, like things that happen. Like, not of the norm, I would say.
Listen, I don't know what people in some places in the world do.
True. It might not be normal for us, but true.
Anywho.
I mean, I'm thinking of one situation, and I'm like, I don't think that's normal anywhere, but we'll see.
Heck, what do you think Bigfoot does on a weekend when he feels a little lonely, okay? We don't know. Anyways, what... did we think of this book?
I didn't even finish anywhere yet.
Sorry. I thought it ended with the icicle dildo.
You're the one that brought up the icicle
more.
after I talked about the 3rd-degree burns or 2nd-degree, whatever the heck degree burn she got from giving him a hand job.
Sorry. I got sidetracked.
So basically the whole I guess conflict in the story was like his panic of like giving up, his bachelorhood and like being settling down with one woman that he never chose. He saw his father go through it and like the pain of losing that person, and then he just says, "Nuh-uh, I don't want it." So he keeps pushing Dani away. And that's like a continuing theme as the story progresses. Like I feel like, it was for like the whole book basically. And during that time, we see Dani developing new skills. Because she decides to settle in Siberia in one of Murdoch's other cabins, because he has numerous, I guess, homes to go to. But she feels most comfortable in the cold, so she chooses Siberia. That's where the ice dildo happened.
Most precise.
And then, she's literally like...
I mean, she's just chilling there.
Elsa.
She's just ready to... live out her days in that cabin by herself, right?
I know, but I think she's literally like Ice Elsa.
Oh, yeah.
Elsa is Ice.
Oh, yeah.
Adult Elsa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That came to mind too.
Yeah, she's giving me like Let It Go feels.
Yeah.
Did she have white hair? I can't remember.
Yeah, she did.
So she's literally Elsa before Elsa was a thing.
Yeah. No, wait, when was this written?
Conceal, don't feel. Don't let them know.
Well, now they know. Okay, we're actually going to just start singing.
Okay, what do you think of this book?
Go, guys, because remember, I always go last.
Okay, this book confuses me a little bit because I don't... Okay, so I I wasn't bored reading it, but I also, it's the first book we read in the series that made me go, why did this have to be here in the series? It felt to me like it belonged as a 0.5 book that didn't really bring anything new to the series. I feel like each book so far has sort of added a little something to the world that you go, oh, okay, I see why this needed to be here and then. But then it's book 7 placed in a weird spot that mostly goes back into the past and then adds very little to the story. Like, I really tried to figure out, like, what does this do? And I couldn't figure it out. So it confuses me. I don't understand why it needed to be where it is. I'm not saying it shouldn't be or it shouldn't exist, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like it should have been the like novella, and my boy Nikolai should have been book 1. Okay?
Yeah. What do you think, S?
Same. I felt like I was very confused because it went back to how March said, to Nikolai and Mrs. book. And for some reason, I don't know why, I kept getting Mist and Catherine confused. Like, their stories. Yeah.
Okay.
And they mentioned the talisman. Is it the talisman high?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that confused me too, where I was trying to figure out who was in it and who was not. I don't know.
It was Catherine and Mariquetta.
Mariquetta, right? And then Sebastian, right? For some reason, I don't know why, this just confused me. I wish, like how March said, I wish it was, I don't know, placed in a different spot in the series.
Well, it also, we should say that it starts during Nikolai's book, but it does span until
Conrad's book and further.
But again, I still didn't really understand why it needed to be there. I feel like it would have fit better had it happened right after Conrad's book. Mm-hmm. Like right between Conrad and Cade. Like right there, like nestled between the two as a little 0.5 treat, you know? Yeah. I don't know.
Do you think maybe she wasn't planning on giving him a book?
No, I think she always planned to give him a story. I don't know whether it was supposed to be a full-length book or whether it was supposed to be a novella, but I don't know. I think for her story, what she was trying to show was like, you know, we've seen mating bonds that were easy. They happened in 3 days or whatever. Whereas this one, it was a struggle, like an inner struggle, not just like in the relationship itself, but like both of them had hangups that caused them to not fully be together for I don't even know how many years that was. Was it not even years, maybe months? I don't know how long those books took. For me, like I liked it, but as like both of you said, like nothing much happened. And I felt like it just put the story at a standstill. That being said, it was still a fun read. Like I still enjoyed reading it, but I don't know. I just feel like, as you said, nothing really happened. Nothing meant anything. Well, I don't think.
Yeah, and even if by the end of the book, Daniela had claimed her throne, I would have been like, oh, okay, so this is what it needed to achieve. She now has the power over this section of the world, and so this will help in the war or whatever. But by the end, she gives up on that and gives it to someone else. And so I'm like, why, like, what are we trying to achieve here? Because even by the end, she hasn't done that. So what is this bringing to the war is kind of my question, you know?
Yeah, I think in this one, I think it's more not just, I don't think it was developing relations during like the war or like creating alliances and things like that. I think this one was more about like the inner struggle and like what you go through to achieve your absolute bliss. Like I just think for this one, it wasn't more about like the external situations, because at the end of the day, they still have an alliance. In other words, with the Ice Fae, Jadian is still going to be there. You know, when the accession happens, he's going to be there with the army, and she's fixed that bond between her people and herself through that and through what happened in the story. So I mean, I don't know. I like I said. Nothing really happened in this book besides the inner growth of the characters.
Yeah, what did you think of the characters? Because none of us have said anything about them, really.
I didn't really care for them.
I'll say I really like Daniela.
Okay.
I think Murdoch is my least favorite.
Yeah, I
Really?
like Daniela as well,
Mm-hmm.
but Murdoch, mm-mm.
I would say that neither of them is like my least favorite, but they're not in my top 5. Like,
Yeah.
like they were both kind of just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they both had like things that I could relate to. They're not unlikable. They're likable characters. It's just there was nothing about them that stood out to me the way that the past characters of Kresley have, especially because she's really good at creating, well, I mean, maybe S will disagree, but she's really good at creating characters that I find are all distinct from each other. They're not the same person copy and pasted in each of the books. And so, but this is the first couple that I was like, if that made any sense.
No, it does. It does. And I think for me, Dani was very much closed off from like her world because she obviously didn't fit in either side. So like her, I understood, and like her desire to be loved, that desire to like feel affection, like obviously everyone would relate to if you like, you're searching for that. But Murdoch, I just could not get behind. I just felt like, yes, at the end of the day, he did love her, but like, I don't know. I just feel like, sure, actions speak louder than words, but it just took a while for him to get there. And like his words were really cutting. Like he was not nice.
He wasn't. I felt like he was a bit of a fuckboy, messing with her emotions.
But she wasn't very forthcoming either. Like he had no idea of her feelings because she wasn't saying it, because she was just expecting him to somehow figure it out. And it's like, well, I mean, how is he supposed to know that you've cared for him all this time when you're not saying anything and you're kind of acting like you don't want him there? Like
that's not true.
I mean, she sent him away. She was like, oh yeah, fine, go. Like, I'll be fine here by myself for the rest of eternity.
Well, that was after he came back with like the scent of 3 different women.
Oh, and then she kissed,
so she's like, go, do whatever you want. Like, you clearly don't want me.
That guy.
No.
Well, I mean, like, no, Murdoch's being a little shit. I'm like damn right, she won't kiss some man she can actually kiss.
Boy, he was a fuckboy who assumed, like, he accepted that he was a fuckboy, but he also struggled with the notion that everyone was also thinking of him as a fuckboy, which I thought was
like, if you don't think of yourself as anything else, then everyone else is going to think of you as a fuckboy. I mean,
you can understand that, like, that must be frustrating when that's the only thing that people associate with you. Kind of like Daniela,
and that's something they remember
like,
of him.
The only thing that people think of when they think of me is I'm cold and I'm a virgin. That's it.
Yeah.
That, I mean, she could have not been a virgin had she had sex with a nice ear, but it was a choice. But like, I can see how they were both struggling with the fact that what, like, their actions and what the choices that they've made for their life in the past, like, affected how everyone else sees them, and they're like, but I'm actually more than this.
Yeah.
But they struggled showing that to each other.
Yeah, they did. And I think it's like, at least for Dani, I could see her, like, she's always been that person that had to close herself off from everyone because she couldn't really afford to get close to her sisters because, if they touched her, she would get hurt. And also, I think she always wanted to find that affection, that, like, caring relationship. And she thought maybe with Murdoch, she could have that. But then automatically he just becomes that person that just rejects his bride, and that's obviously unheard of, and now she thinks that it's something that's wrong with her, and obviously, he can't touch her. It's frustrating. I don't know, but I will say, I did like that Dani was like the first heroine that did not shun her mate. Like, she was the first Valkyrie that was like, ooh, give me this vampire. Like, she was the only one that was receptive to the bride.
Yes, but at the same time, she forced Murdoch to keep their relationship quiet for a long time.
True.
She was like, I'll have you, but you actually can't tell anyone about us. Like, that's kind of shitty. I'm not gonna lie.
Because she was waiting for the other shoe to drop. She was waiting for him to be like, okay, I can't do this. Bye. I'm going back to my womanizing ways. Because he hasn't shown her anything different. He hadn't told her anything different at that point. That's how I took it. That's why she didn't. And I think she even reflected on it later on, and she's like, that was wrong of me. But at the same time, like, you know, as I said, actions usually speak louder than words. And at that point in time when she made that decision to, you know, for him not to tell anyone, it was just, she wasn't sure about his personality and, like, his feelings towards her.
So we talk about perspectives a lot, and you kind of hinted at that in what you just said about how she felt like she didn't fit in with the Valkyries. And it's kind of like the same as it was with Holly. Like, I think it's really interesting how, you know, in many of the books where it's Valkyries, it's like, oh, I fit in with my group so much. Like, I love my family. They're my sisters. We're so close. But then she has, like, Holly and now Daniela in the mix where it's like, well, maybe not everyone fits into this group. And especially Daniela. Like, it was very apparent that she felt left out and, like, she didn't belong. And I thought that was really interesting to see because it gives you a different perspective of the Valkyrie and that house and, like, how it feels to be one of them or not one of them, but among them.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I feel like it's even when she talked about how she spends most of her time in her room because it's literally an ice box. She literally created a freezer for her room.
Yeah.
And, like, no one else obviously can go in there. It's literally, it's a barrier. It's a prison she created for herself, but it's also her sanctuary. And yeah, and I felt like, as you said, perspectives are important, and in this book, you don't really see any Valkyrie trying to break through that prison and, like, try to form a bond with her. Besides, like, Nyx obviously is always the meddling aunt, like, she's always the person that, like, meddles in everyone's lives. But even then, she didn't have a Valkyrie best friend.
Yeah, because in I think in every other book, you have at least once a Valkyrie that shows up and is the heroine's friend, or they're really close together. And Daniela didn't have that at any point, or at least from memory. Maybe she talked to one person at one point. I mean, she did talk to Mist eventually, but even then, like, I didn't feel like they felt like friends to me.
No.
So
I don't think so either.
No. I didn't feel that either. And I feel like even by the end of the book, she didn't really make friends.
Yeah.
I mean, she would be friends, obviously, with Mist, maybe Naomi, Katerin, maybe, but no. I like, at the end of the day, all she had really was Murdoch.
But surprisingly, by, like, at the end of the day, she also wasn't friends with her own people. She didn't connect with them either. Like, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, like, it feels kind of open-ended to me, because I'm like, well, where are her people? Because Murdoch can't be all of it. Like, I'm sorry. Love is fine, but you need, like, a group of friends.
You need different types of love.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so for me, it's kind of like, this is touching upon, like, my monster discussion. So I just want to, like, talk about it now. So, like, for me, what I thought Daniela's monster was the idea of fitting in. Like, she wanted to, you know, be with her people, like, obviously forsaking Murdoch and, like, Emma. She was the only Valkyrie and half of something else. So she wanted to find that sense of belonging. And, like, obviously the people that she belonged to didn't really necessarily see her as just Valkyrie or, like, just Ice Fae. So she didn't really have a belonging, like, a place that she belonged to. And I feel like I like that Kresley Cole kind of included this, because I feel like it also resembles, like, mixed individuals in our world. Like, they don't really have a sense of belonging in any, you know, side of their race. Like, I just feel like it's really interesting that we see it, but in this case, it's, like, interspecies. So yeah, that's what I thought it was. And, like, her struggle of finding her place and not wanting to forsake one side for the other side, but also wanting to be fully accepted by both sides. And, like, realistically, that's not going to happen. And, like, in this case, it made her lonely, like, really lonely.
You don't think that could have eventually happened if she would have stayed queen in her...
No, because she is Valkyrie at the end of the day. She acts like a Valkyrie. She thinks like a Valkyrie. So she wasn't necessarily an Ice Fae. And if she went back to the Valkyries, she wasn't really a Valkyrie there either. She can't touch them. She can't bond with them. She can't watch a movie with them on the couch because she'll, you know, what is it? She'll overheat. Yeah. And then she just physically can't be with the Valkyries. And she mentally can't be with the Ice Fae.
She just reads her erotica all day. We love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just mention the one important information in this book? There was only one tidbit of information that was important, and it's the fact, ladies and gentlemen, Mist is eating.
Yes!
Oh, yes! My babies are gonna have babies.
Yes, she's
so
eating.
excited. I was like, you bet your ass I zoomed in on that information. I was like, oh my god. My girl is eating.
I knew you would have.
So who's expecting or trying to get pregnant? It's Holly, it's Mist.
Holly. I feel like there's someone else.
Yeah, Holly, Mist.
Was Sabine?
Oh,
No, right?
Sabine wasn't pregnant, but she was drowning. But she's not pregnant by the end of the book. So that's it. Babies in the future. Honey.
Exciting.
Generation 2 coming.
I want to see them have kids. I don't know why I stuttered over that so hard. I just really want it. Okay, guys.
Are you sure though?
I'm just like trying to imagine all these like intense males with babies. And like even our intense female warriors with babies. It's just going to be an interesting thing.
I'm sorry. Nikolai is going to be the best father out of all of them. He actually was a father, so to his brothers and sisters. So he's the only one out of the bunch that I can actually see as a dad. Like Kate as a dad is going to struggle. It will be fun.
I can see Sebastian also kind of being a good dad.
Okay, Sebastian is a
because in this book they did mention he was like a father to the sisters.
Oh my god.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Sebastian as a dad. He would be so into like cuddle time.
Yeah.
Because he never
and like
got
story
that.
time.
Oh. But Catherine as a mom? Forget it.
She would literally be Sabine.
She would put them outside, lock the door, and be like, be back in 4 hours. Bye.
Yeah.
I want to see Catherine as a mom, and I also want to see Sabine as like a mom. It would be so interesting. But I think for her, she needs to wet her feet first with being an aunt.
Yeah.
Can I just say, oh no, wait, let's first talk about this. What did you guys think about the ending? Like, as it was a close off with all the Roth brothers and like their future plans. How did you feel about that?
About bringing back the sisters? I'm ready to see it. Do they really bring them back? Like, will we see that?
I don't know.
That is the fakest I don't know I've ever heard.
Girl.
It's not. I literally do not know, or I don't remember if they ever did. Swear on Lothaire's life. I do not know.
Fine. I mean, y'all know what I think of bringing back people from the past. Like, I didn't like the concept of the key to begin with.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of it now, but I did feel like you can see this is closing this era of the series, I guess, in the sense that they've all found closure and love, and they're all ready to move forward with their lives, and I think we're ready to move beyond that, which is weird because the next book is Garrett, which is like, what? We're going back to that era?
That book was so random. But then it made sense. Like, now thinking back on it, it makes sense for it to happen there because of the events that happen in the other half of the books.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. It's just weird how he's mentioned so much in the very, very first book that you expect him to be the next book, and then he's not, and then you forget about him completely. Like, I had forgotten he existed in this series, and then you get to book 8 and you're like, oh, you again?
Like, who is he? Again, remind me?
Yeah. And who's his mate? Katya? Is that her name?
Lucia.
Okay, well, see? I didn't even remember her, so...
He's a werewolf, though, right?
Garrett is Lachlane's cousin.
He's a Lycae, yeah.
The cousin. Okay.
No, he's his brother. Like, yes. He's the prince.
Oh, never mind.
Bowen is the cousin.
Bowen is the cousin, yes.
Bowen. Okay.
So, you got a Lycae coming.
Anyways, the whole point I was talking about the family thing was Conrad. My baby Conrad is still going through a lot.
I know. I did like that. I liked how realistic that was. That he's still sort of going through it.
Yeah. My heart was breaking, but like, I love that she didn't show that it was like a cookie cutter happy ending for him. Like, you know, he's still struggling and like he'll always struggle because of like how many people he's killed. But like, I love that Naomi was there supporting him, and I'm just like, I love this man. I think Conrad was such a great character. Hence why he's my number 1.
So,
Yes.
what did you guys think of Jodian?
He was okay. I mean, like, he's just a regular warrior man. Like,
Oh, I was actually intrigued.
Me too.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't I be? Like, they're described, the what are they called? The the Iceer men are described as Vikings. Yeah, why the heck wouldn't I want that?
And I thought it was curious that he has like a fire demon female locked in the dungeon.
Yes. And I also thought it was very interesting that he doesn't want the crown that he was just given. I was like, yes. Makes me intrigued. He doesn't get a book is what I'm getting from your facial expression, but
For me, okay, if Kresley Cole was to give us a story with him and that fiery demoness person, yes, I would want it. But other than that, I don't really care about him.
Imagine how it wouldn't work. She's fire, he's
And
ice.
he's ice.
Girl,
Fire and ice!
I'm here for it.
they don't mix,
Okay, I'd be here for that.
but they do. They don't, but they do. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, I would be too. I hope Kresley Cole decides to do something there. I'm curious, and now I'm kind of sad that it hasn't been done yet.
Feels to me like it was a setup, but then again, whatever, like, everything she writes to me feels like a setup. So.
That is true.
Can we talk about the fact that Murdoch was ready to freeze for her? That was so good. Like, because it was the complete opposite of what all the vampires have done beforehand, like how they were ready to burn for their mate, but it's the opposite where he was ready to freeze for her, like making his way to whatever kingdom he was going towards. I thought that was really romantic. I was into it.
It was romantic, and I feel like that was his one action that like really cemented like his love for her and like his desire to be with her. And like, I don't know, I loved that. I thought that was a really good indication. Like, I don't know, before that I was just like, I was waiting for that to happen. I was waiting for like a great, like something to make me believe that he loved her as much as he claimed to love her. Because like, I don't know, I just felt like he kept doing things that were like going against that idea. And then this was the one time he was like, finally like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I want to be with her. I have to do this. So yeah,
and
I
if
did
anything, this would have been a worse sentence than burning, because for vampires, he could have burned and died.
Yeah.
In this case, he wouldn't have died. He would have just kept on freezing and then dying and then coming back and freezing again and like on and on and on for eternity. Like, to me, that's even more of a selfless act of love, because it wouldn't just be the end, it'd be eternity.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the reveal about like how they could finally touch?
Well, okay, first, how did you feel about the fact that they couldn't touch? Because I think that could be very annoying for some people, like that trope.
It was.
You thought it was annoying?
It was annoying in the sense where like I just like I wanted them to touch. I needed it because like I felt like because they kept doing so many things like sexually, obviously without touching, like I wanted it. But I also at the same time I felt like it was important for them in this book because he was a womanizer and because he was forced to get to know a woman. Like he was forced to learn about her and learn about what the relationship could be like minus the intimacy, like minus the touching. So I thought that was obviously it was like on purpose, because if they'd I don't know what would have happened if they touched earlier on in the story or they were able to, but it made sense. But at the same time, I just needed them to touch because like they were horny.
Do you think he would have given up touch for her, truly?
I think it would have taken him a long time to accept.
I mean, it's understandable though. Like, imagine that's the case for some people. Like, intimacy is just not a thing in some couples, and that must be really hard if one of them is not ready to make that sacrifice, you know? Like, I think there's a point in the book where he truly would have been okay with it, or okay with waiting, especially when, you know, she tells him like, oh, we could have just slept for 50 years and come back, and at first he's like, hold on, that's 50 years of my life that just are gone. And I get that. Like, that must be scary. Like, I didn't blame him for that. Like, someone would say that to me, I would be like, hold on a minute. Do I really want to sleep for 50 years? But then eventually he was like, I would have done that for you, actually.
Yeah.
So I do think he would have been okay with giving up intimacy, but he had to realize that for himself. It wasn't something that he realized right away, which I think was interesting, because the other vampires, it was like, actually, I'm ready to give up my entire life for you right then and there, you know? Mm-hmm. Whereas with him, it was a process of like actually realizing like, yeah, I would. He just wasn't there yet.
Yeah, and I agree, but I also feel like a lot of their growth, I don't know, maybe it was just because I read it basically all in one sitting, that it felt like their growth happened off page. Like, in the sense where, like, they spent so much time apart that, like, as a couple, we barely saw it in some cases. Like, I just feel like weeks would go by, and, like, you know, he would finally return, and then, like, another week would go by, and then he comes back, and they, like, dry hump each other, and then, like, they talk, and then he goes away, and then he comes back. I just felt like it kept happening, that, like, we missed, at least I did, I missed certain things that would happen, and I'm like, oh, okay, how did you get here? But I don't know, I just felt like what was really important was when he finally, you know, obviously, we find out that once he drank her blood, they were able to touch, because her blood cooled down his own, and, you know, that allowed them to touch. But I felt like a lot of his growth, his personal growth, stemmed from her memories, and like him being able to see her side of things, because he was a very selfish individual. Like, there's no way to get around that. He was a selfish man, and like he just thought about himself. But then him drinking her blood.
I'll be the devil's advocate later.
No, that's fine. It's fine. And then he just wasn't willing to see like her side of things, and I think vice versa as well. Like, I don't think she was willing to see his side of things too. But for him, it's like he got smacked in the face with it when he drank her blood and started seeing her memories. He saw her struggle. He saw that, as you said, that he was only thinking about his side of things. He was only thinking about him giving up 50 years of his life, but also that she was willing to give up 50 years of her life. So I think that scene was really important, and that was like his turning point, like his driving force to actually see that maybe this is worth fighting for. Because, like, not worth fighting for, but like it's something that he's willing to give up. He's willing to give up this touch.
But I also think, like, Daniela kept wanting these grand gestures from him, which I thought was not necessarily fair. He's going through something too, and yet she was, like, waiting for him to somehow realize what she wants without her saying it, because she's read all these novels where this is what happens, and it's like, well, girl, like, he's actually a guy, like, he's a real guy, human flesh, like, well, not technically human flesh, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that she was kind of asking a lot of him. That's my take.
But I think it also goes back to like what she knew of him in the past. And I know like your past is in your future. You're not who you are. Like for him, it was literally 300 years ago. He's not who he was 300 years ago. But I think it's like that idea that he's a womanizer. He's going to get bored of me. Like, he's going to get bored of me. And because we can't touch, what's the point of even trying, I think? I don't know. For her, I feel like every woman wants a grand gesture. And, like, she wasn't getting it. She kept getting, you know, for lack of a better word, like the cold shoulder in certain situations.
But it's like, okay, it's like when a guy asks you, like, oh, are you okay? And you say, yeah, but you're not. Like, it's the same thing. It's like, how the heck is he supposed to know you're not fine when you say you're fine? Like, it was the same thing with, like, hoping for a grand gesture without, like, giving any signs that you're actually really interested in him. Like, that was how it felt to me. Plus, like, you keep saying, like, oh, he's such a womanizer. And sure, but he had reasons. And I think this is part of his monster. He explained how the death of his mom affected his father so much, and he saw what happened to his father and how it destroyed him, and he's scared of that. He saw what love can do to someone, especially when that love goes away or someone dies, and it's like you're left alone. And I think his reason was understandable, because he saw what happens and he's scared of it, and now he's doing everything he can to never have that happen to him. And for him, it means just going through people like they're not people, you know? I just think there's a reason behind it. Like, it's not just he's a womanizer because he doesn't care about people. I think it's because actually he knows that he would care about people if he let himself, and that's scary to him.
Yeah, but he also did mention, like the first time him and Danny had met, and the first time they, he took her back to his apartment or whatever, New Orleans, or Louisiana is in New Orleans, never mind. When he took her back there, he was saying that him talking to her was the longest conversation he's ever had with a woman in his whole life. And like, that's pretty telling of like, obviously, like, I know it's his background, but it's pretty telling on how like he regarded women. Like, they were just, in his mind, there for like sexual pleasure. Like, the fact that he, like, I know he obviously hasn't had the opportunity to talk to women since he like turned, but I just think that's pretty telling on like his view on women in general. Until later on, like until he got to see Mist and until he got to see Katerin, and like, I don't know, maybe he just wasn't exposed to women enough in his 300 years of being a vampire. But
I'm not saying that like using and discarding people is fine. It's not, but I do understand his fear behind it, like what motivates him. It's kind of like the same as Sebastian, who hadn't really talked to a woman ever because he knew how people were scared of him, and that affected him. So it's not different. It's just Murdoch was actually using people, which is bad, but I just wanted to say that there was a reason for it, and it's not just a plain old womanizer.
Yeah. No, I agree. That was his reason, and he did hate that the only thing people could remember him as when he was a human was that he was a womanizer, that he slept around a lot.
Now that you girls mentioned that, I feel like Nikolai and Mist's relationship kind of affected him too, because of the way he saw his brother suffer. All those, was it years?
Probably, yeah. For 5 years, he saw this man pine over this woman who didn't care about him. Yeah. So probably, yeah, you're right. Like, it's not said in the book, but you would think that, yeah.
His view on Mist, though, was really different in the beginning than it was in the end. He didn't like Mist at all because of like the 5 years she put Nikolai through. So yeah, no, I agree. I think that does play a factor in how he regarded his mate and how he regarded his bride and everything that went with it.
And for her, I think the monster that you said was hers was really good. If anything, I think maybe too, like, her thinking she's not enough, which I think is why the pairing, like, the thing that's interesting about this pairing is that he's someone who obviously needs intimacy in that way, and she can't give it, and part of her monster is the fact that she's scared of never being enough for someone because of that, because she can't give them that. So that's what makes them interesting, because it's opposites, but it's I thought it was to answer your question, 5 million years later, I think it's interesting how they found the middle of like the blood, and I thought that was a clever,
we never answered that question.
A clever thing. What did you guys think of that?
It felt kind of convenient in a way.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean,
it was an easy cop out for sure.
I don't care.
Yeah, I just wanted to get to it finally.
I don't care because they're fated mates. So you would think that if they're mates, it's because nature knows how it's going to make it work. Or else they wouldn't be mates. So
that is true.
To me, that's just how it felt. I was like, oh, okay, well, makes sense, or else they wouldn't be mates. So
true. And if Jadian or Jadion or whatever the heck his name is, and that fiery demoness person, if they're mates, then they would find a way to make it work too.
Exactly.
On that note, should we rate our people, or do we have any other things you wanted to say?
The part where I really, really disliked Murdoch was when he comes back and he catches her kissing Jadian.
Yeah.
And I wrote down, he's like, just when he realized he loved her, she would betray him. And I'm just like, you son of a bitch. You know what? You lose. What is that saying? You snooze, you lose.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, that part really, really bothered me. Just the fact that it's very selfish.
like part of it was also
Curiosity.
yes, but also pettiness. I think there was a little bit of pettiness towards like what he
Yeah?
had done. Oh yeah, I think she mentions it like, oh, he had other women's scent on him, so like I might as well. Like I think there was a little bit of that too, which is understandable. Like we're not above pettiness, but like
No. For sure. And I think we also need to take in everything into account. Like at that point they had a really bad fight. Like she found
yeah.
out that he's not willing to give up 50 years of his life for her. And like, he left. He literally left as obviously she stormed out. And like she thought they were doomed, but obviously like, she still wanted Murdoch, but at the end of the day she was angry, yes. But number 2, she was curious. Imagine living, I don't know how many thousands of years without feeling any sort of positive touch. And like she finds a man that can finally touch her. And like, yeah, it's her curiosity. And sure, you could say it's petty, but I also think she mentioned that like it was a reasoning as to why this could be okay. Like that's how I took it. Like she said he kissed 3 women. Like it's okay if I try and see if like, if I kiss him, what's going to happen, right? I think it was more of like a reasoning as to why it was okay in her head to do it. But I mean, and then after that, when like Murdoch finally comes back, like he was vicious.
I mean, it makes for a fun, jealous, possessive moment, which I'm not gonna say no to, guys, okay? I'm sorry. But it makes
I know,
it
I love
exciting.
seeing the jealous male trope. Like I know it's
Yeah.
not a healthy thing to love to watch, but what I'm telling you, Turkish dramas do it like so good. I mean it. Like you
It's
guys
just
need to try one out.
like I like part of me when there's like a jealous guy, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't like this, but inside I'm squealing, like I just can't help it.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it. I know I shouldn't love it. I hate that I'm broadcasting that I love the jealous male trope, the protective, obsessive trope, but I do.
Yeah, and then like it goes both ways, right? Like when there's like the jealous guy, I'm like, oh yes. But also like when you know that the girl's about to do something that will piss him off because she wants to piss him off, I'm like, yes, girl, do it.
Girl, do it.
So exciting. Like
I
go
also really
kiss
like,
that random dude in the club. Please do.
Yeah, yes. But also, I also like the jealous female as well. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I just feel like when Sabine got jealous, when Holly got jealous, loved it. I love like her get back was like, to sit on a demon's lap. And I just love it. The jealous trope is so good no matter the gender. Like, I just think it's such a good trope.
I love when the girl goes, that's my man, in front of another woman, and you just have the guy like, yeah, that's my woman. Like he's so turned on by it. I'm like, yes. This is what I want. Are we ready to rank these bastards?
Sure. So we're doing bottom up, right? So least.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so least to most. Who wants to start? Seff, start. You never start.
Okay, fine. Females?
Yeah, sure.
So at number 8 is Naomi. 7, Emma. 6 is Dani. 5 is Holly. 4, Mist. 3 is Catherine. Number 2 is Sabine. And number 1 is Mariquetta.
Okay. That's interesting.
I like that rating.
I feel like I forget our orders every week. It's like a surprise again. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, S?
Okay, so for me it would be so 8 would be Naomi, 7 would be Daniela, 6 would be Sabine, 5 would be Emma, 4, that was 5, right? 4 would be Catherine, and then 3 would be Mist, and then 2 would be Holly, and then 1 would be Mariquetta.
Just give me a second. I'm adding numbers because apparently there's numbers now.
Oh my gosh. You don't need to say the numbers. I don't know why I said it. I just want to
I feel left out
anyone
now.
that
I
was
feel like I
listening.
have to copy everyone else. So
Okay, fine. Be a follower, not a leader.
okay, well, mine is just 7 because I have a tie. So 7 is Naomi, 6 is Emma, 5 is Daniela. So up till here, I think Seff and I are the same. Then I have
Yes.
Mary Keta in 4. 3 is a tie between Holly and Katerin. Then Mist and Sabine as my number 1. Of course.
Sabine is a great character. That's why she's my number 2. She shocked me a lot.
Yeah, because you hated her.
I hated her. I was Suffer of the Past again, man. Such a bitch. All right, time for our males. In last spot, in 8th spot, we have Lachlan. 7 is Murdoch. 6 is Sebastian. 5th is Nikolai. 4th spot is Cade. 3rd spot, Rydstrom. 2nd is Bowen, and top spot is
Conrad.
Conrad. All right,
Okay.
S, let's hear yours.
So 8 for me would be Murdoch. 7 would be Sebastian. 6 would be Conrad. 5 would be Rydstrom. 4 would be Nikolai. 3 Lachlan. 2 Cadion. And then 1 Bowen.
This order kills my soul.
I like what I like, Marge. Accept
It hurts me every time you say it. It's like a knife into my heart. My favorite men are in the middle.
It's not that bad. Nikolai's number 4.
I'm sorry, Nikolai is a great
in the top
character.
5.
He is.
He's in the top 5.
But at the end of the day, Cade, Rydstrom, Bowen, and Conrad, in my eyes, are a tad bit more my type.
At
than
the end of the
Nikolai.
day, I'm just sandwiched between Nikolai and Rydstrom and really happy. Y'all can do whatever you want, but I ain't moving from this spot.
All right, give me the
My
crazy
order
vampire.
is-
I want Conrad. Go ahead.
7 is Lachlan. 6 is
Wait, what was
Murdoch.
8?
There's no 8 because I
Oh, you have a
tie.
tie again?
Yeah.
Okay.
7 is Lachlan. 6 is Murdoch. 5 is Sebastian. 4 is Conrad and Bowen as a tie. Then 3 is Cade. 2 Nikolai. 1 Rydstrom.
Really?
I mean,
Wait.
it was like
Did-
that last week.
Was it?
Was it?
I'm like,
oh,
all
yes,
shocked.
yes. I remember. We all need to take a moment.
But to be honest, I go back and forth.
Okay.
I'm hesitating. Maybe one day they'll just like randomly jump at the first spot together. I don't know. So
Okay.
that's my order.
All right. I'm curious to see what our order will be after Garrett's book, because I feel like after Garrett's book, like all those books become my favorites. Like I love after Conrad and after Conrad. Whoa. After Garrett, like all those books. Yeah, I like there's not one in there that I don't like. But keep in mind I haven't read the book yet, so I don't that's going to be a first for me. I'm excited.
I have a question for you girls before we end. Okay, so I'm going to ask for you both. Let's say that you've girls been kidnapped and you can call one fictional character
From this world?
from this world, but main characters, not side characters. Who would you guys
Oh,
call to come
'cause
help
we're
you?
all gonna say Nyx.
Yeah, I know. But main characters
To save
I would-
us.
to save, like who would you call? Like I'm gonna call them. They're gonna come get me. They're gonna save me.
Okay, and you have to explain your why you picked that person and not just they're hot. Okay.
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 That's fine.
I think my first instinct, since I can't pick like a side character, my first instinct is to say Katerin. Because she's very competent, she will get shit done, she's scary as fuck, so she will scare them away, my kidnappers. And I feel like she's very goal-driven, and so like, because I could say like someone like Sabine, but I'm like, Sabine is a selfish
She's so, yeah.
person. Like,
Yeah.
she's not coming for me. And like, I could say Nikolai, but I'm like, is he really the best person for this? He's too busy taking care of his entire family. Like, he's too... I feel like Katerin is just the perfect person for that.
And didn't Nikolai get captured when he was trying to protect his brother?
that was my
Like,
thought too. Like, they all,
Yeah.
all the guys got captured at some point and couldn't make their way
Yeah.
out. So I'm like,
Yeah.
they're not gonna help me. And then I was thinking like Mist and Katerin were going after them to, you know, save them. But I'm like, Mist, I don't think so. I don't know why, but I don't think she would manage to save me. So I'm thinking Katerin. I think Katerin would do just fine.
Okay, for me, I would love to say Conrad, but I know I can't because this man is kind of missing a few
He's
screws
a
up
trigger. Like, he's
exactly.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a good idea.
So, and then I was thinking, what's the next best vampire? And then that was Nikolai. The reason I'm saying a vampire, because it's easy to, you know, trace that person in and out. So, like, as soon as he touches me, we trace, we're out, I'm safe. But then, as you said, Nikolai has other priorities. I'd be really low on his list.
But they can't trace where they haven't been.
But once they get in to save me, we can trace out.
True.
But I decided not to go with Nikolai or Conrad or any of the vampires because they have different priorities. I'd go with Mariquetta. Reason being is she travels through mirrors, and it would be easy to get me out of wherever I'm in, unless there's no mirrors, and that's an issue. But she's a witch, so she has other.
What kind of prison has a mirror?
You never know. It could just be like a metal surface.
You're in a dungeon, girl.
There could be like something metal.
Concrete.
It could be like, you know,
Brick.
like a little knob on the something.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
Anyways, that could be it. But I also think she's gonna be like very expensive. She's like $1 million. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know how much it is.
Yeah. There's
like
that
over millions to get her
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
So I literally think I'm just gonna rot in this dungeon because I can't. Like,
plus she
no
might mess up the spell. So like you might be turned
there's
into
that too.
something you wouldn't want to be.
True.
Yeah.
That is true. But, and then I could also maybe go with Emma in the sense
Why?
where, listen,
Listen, Marge,
guys.
I want to hear this.
She is a vampire. She can trace me out, but she's also like developing her badass skills slowly but surely. So maybe she can trace me out of there once she gets in, and then we could be, you know, somewhat friends in the sense
my God.
where. What?
I changed my answer. Okay, you keep going. I'll change my answer after.
Okay, do you love how I'm just beating around the bush because I can't figure out who I want to save me? Anyways, end of discussion.
Okay. I would pick Holly to come get me.
Really?
Holly?
Yeah. Because I remember her being a real badass. She saved herself.
She saved
killed
herself.
all those.
That's true.
Yeah, she killed all those
That's
creatures.
a good answer.
And then she can scream, right? Scream and like kill everybody with her scream. Didn't she do that?
And she can probably find out where you are really quickly.
Exactly. So Holly for me. Go.
I think I'm a genius because
Okay, let's see.
I would go with Naomi. She can just walk through the fucking walls and then steal the keys, open the fucking door, let me out. I can kick my way out, be a badass bitch, and then we're in business. Like, Naomi can walk
Okay,
through
fine.
walls.
You won.
Yeah.
You won.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. But yeah, that's smart.
Pat on the back. I did good.
That was a good answer. And then there was me trying to like figure out each and every one of them.
But I love
how to escape through a doorknob.
Yeah. It's Seff.
You never know, okay?
I love that we all picked females to come get
Heck
us.
yeah, they're the badass in this series.
Yeah. Because then I feel like the males would just be pining over their women.
Oh yeah, they're all distracted, having boners, just wanting sex, like 24/7. Like, they're not it.
But anyways, I don't know what my answer would have been, is what I'm saying. On that note.
That was a fun question, though.
Yeah, I like those questions.
Okay, and then maybe one day we'll come up with our names.
Our Valkyrie names.
Maybe by the end of this series of like Kresley Cole books, we'll be like, okay, here's our name for the grand finale.
We should wait for when we're done with the books.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I mean, like, hopefully we will never be done. Once we've caught up. Let's do that. Once we've caught up.
All right, so this is it for this week's episode of Romancing the Monsters on Untouchable by Kresley Cole. Next week, we don't know yet what we're reading, but make sure to check our social media to find out. You can find us on Twitter at the RTM Pod or on Instagram at Romancing the Monsters Podcast. You can also email us at romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Frozen Lovers.
And you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at ButThisBook.
And you can find me, Seff, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes.
You can also give us a little like, a little comment. It helps. We'd love to know what you think of the podcast so far.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.